impact of colonialism on the economic structures of most of the African societies. You will recall that most of the economic plans of Europeans in Africa was structured deliberately to make sure that they extract wealth from Africa and take them to their home countries. Okay? The core principle, the idea was for them to extract raw materials from their colonial territories and repatriate them home and take those raw materials to their production companies abroad and do processing. They process those resources into finished goods and they come back to Africa with those goods, those final products, and made our countries in Africa marketplaces. The question is, why did they refuse to? Let's assume that they were interested in our raw materials. Why are they not building companies in Africa and process those products to finished goods in Africa and sell them in Africa? Why are they taking the pains of getting the raw materials in Africa and take the stress of taking them back to their home countries in Europe and do the processes in Europe and bring back the finished products here in Africa to sell to the people? The answer is very simple. The whole essence of doing this was to make sure employment is created not for Africans but for their brothers and sisters abroad. That's one of the very key things that they try to achieve. I'll tell you that the economic activities of Europeans in Africa changed the dynamics drastically. A lot of things changed about our economic activities, and one of those things that changed, one thing I can call negative impact is destruction of local industries and crafts. For example, the British made machine textiles destroyed a good number of locally made fabrics. People now prefer to go and buy British made clothes, and they're no longer interested in made in Africa fabrics. Another great or major crisis as a result of economic activities of Europeans in Africa was land dispossession and the commercialization of land. You now find out that communal lands were taken away for plantations. In Kenya, for example, there was creation of white highlands and settler farms in Rhodesia. Rhodesia was, the present day Zimbabwe. The closure of communal land in South Africa was also a very great example. There was massive concessions to European companies for rubber in Congo and many other countries. What I'm saying here is very, very simple. That look, as a result of the economic activities of Europeans in Africa, you get to know that the communal way of life of the people of Africa were taken away from them. Before colonialism, before the introduction of their economic structure, what you have in Africa then was land being owned communally, and there was nothing like buying and selling of landed properties. So Europeans came and they commercialized land, and that has serious implications on African societies. It brings with it, land-related conflicts. And today you see one parcel of land being sold to several people. That's a very serious problem. And another major implication of, colonial economy on the continent of Africa was labor exploitation. there was what they call a forced shift from willing economic activities, as in people now are being forced to do certain jobs against their wish. Then another one is economic dualism. You know, modern exports happen. People now go into stream of businesses. I think this one is a good impact. I think this one is a very